You won't believe what happened last week. HOA Karen actually trapped my pregnant wife in steel wire. Can you imagine the nerve? She probably thought it was some harmless prank. But oh no. This was way worse than anyone expected. The moment I found out, my blood ran cold. I mean, who does that to a pregnant woman? Seriously, who? And if you think this is just some petty neighborhood feud, hold on tight because the twist will blow your mind. It all started when Karen, that insufferable HOA president, decided she had enough of us. Apparently, my wife's small garden decorations were against HOA regulations. Sounds ridiculous, right? But Karen is a stickler for her petty rules, and her attitude screamed entitlement. She warned us repeatedly, her voice sharp and dripping with self-importance. But we didn't budge. So, she went full nuclear. One night, while my wife was out watering her plants, Karen and her cronies sneaked over and wrapped steel wire around our backyard gate and part of the porch, trapping my wife inside. When she came back, she found herself literally caged in. Can you picture her? Pregnant, scared, struggling to free herself. All while Karen watched from the sidelines with that smug look like she'd won some twisted victory. My wife's panicked breathing echoed through the night air, and I swear I could hear the metallic clink of the wire tightening as she tugged at it helplessly. It was chilling. She tried calling me, but the cell signal was spotty, and those precious seconds felt like hours. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. I rushed over immediately, only to find Karen standing there, oh so innocent-looking, but the steel wire didn't lie. It was a trap, plain and simple. I confronted her, voice shaking, demanding why she would do something so cruel. And you know what? She didn't even deny it. Instead, she laughed cold and cruel, like she was some sort of neighborhood queen dispensing punishment. But here's where it gets wild. Karen thought she had us cornered. But she totally underestimated one thing: her husband, Judge Harris. The federal judge who lives just 2 doors down. Turns out, he'd been quietly watching the whole neighborhood drama unfold from his window, unimpressed by his wife's antics. When I called him, pleading for help, he didn't just roll his eyes. He got serious. He knew this wasn't just a backyard squabble, it was borderline criminal. Turns out, Karen's petty enforcement had gone way beyond what HOA rules allowed. And worse, she'd been forging official HOA notices, forged threatening neighbors with fake legal actions to get her way. This wasn't just about wire fences and garden gnomes anymore. This was fraud. And the judge wasn't having any of it. He launched an immediate investigation, digging through HOA documents and Karen's records, exposing her web of lies and illegal intimidation tactics. The whole neighborhood buzzed with rumors. But no one expected the bombshell. Karen was facing a massive lawsuit, not from us, but from the HOA itself, who were furious to discover she'd been running a shadow operation under their name. Meanwhile, my wife, though shaken, showed an incredible strength. How could someone be so heartless? She whispered to me one evening, still trembling from that night. But at least we're not alone. And she was right. Suddenly, neighbors who'd been too afraid to speak up started sharing their own Karen horror stories of forged warnings, of petty sabotage, of threats disguised as HOA policies. It was like pulling a thread on a sweater that unraveled the whole sweater. The community united against her tyranny, and the tide was turning. I have to admit, I was worried that Karen might escalate her madness, especially knowing her husband was a judge. But the truth is, the judge's own integrity couldn't allow such blatant abuse of power, even if it was his wife. The tension was electric when the lawsuit was filed. Courtroom drama unfolded with testimonies from neighbors, experts, and even HOA board members exposing Karen's fraudulent schemes. The judge was meticulous, no favoritism, no blind spots. The law was clear. Karen had crossed every line imaginable. One day, during a particularly intense hearing, Karen's face twisted with fury and disbelief when her own husband read aloud her forged documents and revealed her wire trap on my wife. The courtroom gasped. I caught my wife's hand under the bench, feeling her mix of relief and exhaustion. Is this really happening? She murmured. Justice is slow, but it's coming. I nodded, watching Karen crumble in real time. Her empire of control shattered. The aftermath. Karen was removed from her HOA position, slapped with fines that wiped out any leftover bragging rights. The lawsuit made headlines in our town, a stark warning to anyone thinking they can play dictator in a community. And her husband, despite the personal pain, he stood firm, his reputation untarnished, proving that even in the messiest family dramas, justice can prevail. My wife and I were healing. The wire scars on her garden gate were cut away. Replaced with flowers, she planted herself symbols of resilience and new beginnings. The neighborhood feels lighter, freer, and honestly, it's wild to think it all started with a wire trap and a Karen's cruel stunt. So, what's the moral here? Maybe it's this: never underestimate the power of truth and the law, especially when karma is involved. And maybe, just maybe, think twice before you mess with a pregnant woman in her own backyard. Because you never know who might be watching or judging. I still hear the metallic echo of that wire sometimes. A haunting reminder of how low some people will go and how high justice can rise. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you stand up or walk away? Life's crazy like that. But one thing's for sure, Karen got exactly what she deserved.